All right, welcome in another edition of Musso at the Box, presented by Gauntlet Light Installers. LSU, they are swept on the road, on the plains, 3 games, 8-4 on Friday, 4-2 on Saturday, 3-2 on Sunday. There's a lot to dive into. LSU did plenty wrong over the course of the weekend in Auburn. Most, if not all of it, coming at the plate and on defense, specifically in the outfield. Like when I take the step back, I decompress a little bit, I look at the weekend, what I see as to why LSU lost is you weren't good at the plate, and just about all of Auburn's runs that were accounted for early in games were accompanied by some miscue in the outfield. And there were a couple things we talked about in this preview for this series last week, and one of them was going to be defense in a odd ballpark, an unfamiliar ballpark, and that absolutely bit LSU, and it caused the numbers for your starting pitching to be inflated. And then offensively, LSU was out of character going all the way back to the game against Nichols. And unfortunately, that carried over this weekend, and it is at the crux of the reason that LSU has been swept by Auburn for the first time since 1988. That's a mouthful. And we'll get into all of it. We're going to attack the bad first and foremost this weekend and in this show. First, at the end, I will offer you some type of sign for going forward. But here's the thing. This hurts, and it should hurt. And one reason why it hurts is because, man, you just ended the first half of SEC with a thud. And it's very easy to look forward at what you have coming up. A ranked Alabama team coming into the box, then Tennessee. Then you have to go to A&M, and then Arkansas comes in. That's treacherous. And you just fell flat on your face to end the first half of SEC play. So we can't gloss over that. You can't. And we won't. But at the end, we'll step back, look at the first half, and look big picture. So why did LSU's offense struggle so much against Auburn? Because, one of the things we talked about was LSU, specifically Saturday and Sunday, should have had such an advantage on the mound. And you know what? You credit Cade Fisher a little bit. The kid had struggled with command mightily. He didn't against LSU. He pounded the zone. You know that's a talented arm. He had plenty of success at Florida, so you know it's in there. It sucks that it happened against you, but it did. But it wasn't without LSU helping. And that's the most discouraging thing for me watching LSU's offense this week, but specifically this past weekend at Auburn. They helped. They helped the opposition out a lot. When I watched LSU, I saw a team that the hallmark of this ball club, we have talked about it ad nauseum on this show and celebrated it as we should. Their ability to hit with 2 strikes, their ability to hit in the clutch, and not just in the clutch, but to score runs with 2 outs on the board. And not just to score runs with 2 outs on the board, to start rallies with 2 outs on the board. And they could not have been further from that than they were this weekend. LSU struck out 24 times. 24 times. We commended Auburn in the preview and throughout recaps so much for their ability to grind out at bats and be the hardest team in the league to strike out. And y'all, that bared itself out over the course of this weekend. LSU was the 3rd hardest team to strike out in the league coming into this weekend. Like, they had been just as good. They struck out 24 times, including 12 on Friday night, the most in any game this season. To show you, again, how good they have been and how far they fell this weekend on the Plains. LSU left 26 runners on base. Talk about not being able to hit in the clutch. not coming through with that big hit when you needed it most. And there were plenty of instances on Sunday and Saturday. There were plenty of instances over all days, but Saturday and Sunday in particular. Saturday, you left 11 on base. Sunday, you left 8. And we'll get into a few of those instances, specifically Sunday, because there was one inning that I thought was just the perfect microcosm of the weekend for LSU. I say perfect, not in a good way, but you understand what I mean. It really showed where they were. So with the strikeouts, what happened? Well, LSU expanded the zone like they had never before. You saw a lot of long, big swings in 2-strike counts, which has not been a tendency of this team, and that needs to be fixed immediately because that is unacceptable, 100%. This is a team who we've seen multiple times shorten up, use the backside of the field, foul off pitches, get deep in counts. They did not do that on the Plains at Auburn, and that's unacceptable and needs to be fixed immediately. The expanding of the zone drove me absolutely bonkers. Absolutely bonkers from LSU. That was one of the key. That's chief. They did plenty of things not great at the plate. That is chief among them, for me, is how they expanded the strike zone this week. Because, damn it, they're better than that. They just are. And that's why it's disappointing. That obviously contributes to you leaving guys on base. Something else that contributed to that for LSU, when they got into advantage counts this weekend, they missed. Not necessarily swing and miss, but they did not attack the fastball like they have. This is a great fastball hitting team. This weekend, they weren't. I'll give you a perfect example of what I'm talking about. On Sunday, in game number 3, it was, I believe, the 3rd inning. I want to check to make sure I have this correct. It was not. It was the 2nd. This was in the 2nd inning. Daniel Dickinson is leading off the inning. LSU put a base runner on in the 1st in Jones. He got picked off, which also was stupid. But Dickinson's leading off the inning. They moved him down to the cleanup spot. Anyway. He gets ahead 3-1. He popped up to the shortstop. That's what I mean. It's a 3-1 count. Fastball's coming. And he popped it up to the shortstop. And you saw that all too often from LSU hitters in advantage counts this weekend. That's them being off. I mean, that's what, this team did not forget how to hit a fastball. But at that point in the weekend, are you pressing? Hell yeah, you're pressing. Auburn has some good pitching. They do. Auburn's a really good team. I told y'all that leading into this weekend. To not be deceived by the 6-6 conference record that team had won 3 series. Now they've won 4 against some really good teams. That's a good team. That's a team that should host a regional and has a chance to make a deep run in the postseason. Really good club. Their pitching is not good enough to handcuff LSU for 3 games. There should not be a pitching staff in the nation that is good enough to handcuff LSU's lineup for 3 games. I did not believe there was a pitching staff in the nation good enough to do that to LSU's lineup for 3 games. And Auburn just was. And that's a problem. And that needs to be fixed immediately. Because LSU's lineup is too good for that. I've sat here numerous times when talking about this LSU offense, says you're not keeping them down. You're not going to keep them down for 9. It's just not going to happen. Auburn kept you down for 81. The other really concerning thing from LSU's offense as a whole, before we get into a few individual things as to why you struggled so much, the flyouts. LSU flew out 38 times over the course of 3 games on the Plains. 38 of your 81 outs were flyouts. That is 46.9%. Go ahead and round it up to 47. And that's not who this team is. LSU's got some power on that lineup. And we talked about this after the game on Saturday night. LSU's power comes from them trying to hit the ball hard. And they run into one, and they get it up, and it flies. This isn't the teams we've seen in the past under Jay Johnson here at LSU, where they're going to hit 114 homers or 144. That's not who this team is. They can hit their homers. They can get into one because they're trying to hit it hard. Jay Johnson has said it numerous times this season. Hell, like I said, I've even probably played the cut of him saying it on this show. Hard, not far. That's what they're trying to do. And when you're trying to hit the ball hard, not far, you don't fly out 38 times. LSU is completely out of character, and it led to you hitting 148 with runners in scoring position. 148 over the course of 3 games. And that is not good enough, and it needs to be fixed immediately. LSU stars, they weren't stars this weekend. Auburn's were. And that factored into this as well. Ike Irish was great. Cooper McMurray was great. Bub Terrell, the freshman, and Chris Rembert. We talked about all 3 of the freshmen. Freilich, Terrell, Rembert. They all impacted that game. These games, I should say. Y'all, Rembert came into Sunday hitting 500 in the series. Bub Terrell had a 3-hit night on Friday. It seemed like Chase Freilich hit the ball to left field every damn time he came up to the plate, and yet you continue to shift on him. Those 3 guys, and then Irish and McMurray, their stars were stars. LSU stars, Curiel, Jones, Dickinson. The top 3 in your lineup, normally. I know they moved Dickinson down in game 3, but the top 3 in your lineup were 8 for 42. That's 190. They hit 190, your top 3. Those guys have been the table setters for you all year. It's hard to find someone. Go through it. It's hard. It's hard to find someone in this LSU lineup that had a great weekend. Luis Hernandez, rough. And he'd been an X factor for you, y'all. And I think he can get back there. But that was rough from him. Expanded the zone a lot. Chris Stanfield had a hit all 3 days. Hat tip Stanny. Milam had a 2-hit day in game 2. Had a homer. The success just wasn't sustained, and it wasn't strung together at all for LSU this whole time. And I'll tell you right now, of all the days, Sunday was the most discouraging for me offensively. Because, damn it, Auburn tried their hardest to give it to you. They really did. The Auburn Tigers, on Sunday, walked 7 and hit 2. They gave you 9 free passes, and all you could muster was 2 runs, and it came in the 8th inning. And I mentioned earlier there was 1 inning that I thought was just the perfect microcosm of LSU's weekend, and that was the 5th inning on Sunday. That's when LSU mounted their best and biggest threat of the entire game. You have 8, 9, and 1 due up in the lineup. Michael Braswell leads off, 4-pitch walk, take your base. Chris Stanfield comes up behind him, falls behind 0-2, doubles. And you look at that and you go, oh, wait a minute now. That looks like an LSU at bat that we're used to. So you have 2nd and 3rd, nobody out. You finally chase the starter, who Alvarez wasn't great. His numbers look really good, but he wasn't great. And Derek Curiel is coming to the plate. This is your chance right here to not only get back in the game, but you have a big inning. And you've got Cowan on the mound at that point. Like, you could salvage this game. Curiel, 1-0 count. Advantage. Pops it up to second base. Advances nobody. Jared Jones comes up. 2-2 count. Strikes out swinging. Expands the zone to do so. Swung at ball 3. Ethan Fry pinch hits for Josh Pearson. Draws a 4-pitch walk. So now the bases are loaded, and here comes Danny Dickinson. 2-2 count. Strikes out swinging. Chased the fastball out of the zone. Expanded the zone. Right there. That whole inning. Microcosm. You had the opportunity. You had a fly out from Curiel. and then 2 strikeouts expanding the zone. That's who LSU was this weekend at the plate. And stop me if you've heard this before. That's unacceptable and needs to be fixed immediately. Jared Jones, there's a lot of people making a lot of his weekend, and you should. He was not good. But Jared Jones has been really good over the course of the entire season for LSU. Yes, including some very big at-bats in SEC play. You can point to his numbers in conference play. Those are going to be hella skewed now because of this weekend. You would need to go back and find the ones prior to this weekend. But Jones was not good enough this week. 1 for 13. He hit .076. The 6 strikeouts. The number that's most concerning to me, 0 walks. That looked more like Jared Jones from his freshman season. It just did. He'll get back in the lab. He'll work hard. Look at all the work he's done to turn himself into the hitter that he's been this year. But that ain't good, y'all. That's really bad, as a matter of fact. Just a really, really disappointing weekend for LSU at the plate, and it cost you the series. And not only did it cost you the series, you got swept. In the field, Derek Coryell had a really, really rough time in left. And y'all, that's an odd left field to have to play. It's a short porch. You have the War Eagle wall, the big green wall out there. There's angles. It's tough. That's a tough sky at dusk, and you saw that on Friday and Saturday. He lost balls, started in, had to go back, couldn't get to him both Friday and Saturday, and it cost you runs. And then on Sunday, he absolutely misplayed the ball that Irish hit in the first inning. I mean, he is standing with his heels on the warning track. If it's over your head, pal, it's either over the fence or off the wall. For some reason, he went back on this ball. Whereas if you realize early it's over your head, you play the carom, get it into second, and hold Irish to a single, and you have a double play, and you can get a ground ball and hopefully get out of this. But instead, he goes back on the ball with his heels on the track. It hits off. He misplays it. He gets it in fast, to his credit, but you end up with second and third. Both those runs come around to score. And at that point, man, you're like, yes, Chase Shores kept it small. And the one thing that struggled, that hampered Chase Shores is the walks and the free passes. Other than that, Shores did some nice things. But 2 walks and a hit batter, that's 3 free passes in 2 innings. That's been the bugaboo for him this season. The free passes for Chase Shores on a Sunday are too plentiful. And they were again. You had Josh Pearson misplay a ball in the outfield. Chris Stanfield got turned around a couple of times. All things we pointed to in the preview that reared their ugly heads. And then you have a team in Auburn. Who's really good in close games, who's really good at home, who's really good at the plate, and they took advantage of all of it. Auburn's a team that makes you earn everything. How many times did I say that in the preview? Even when they tried to give you runs on Sunday, you still couldn't earn them. Auburn battled at the plate. You struck out 4 Auburn Tigers on Sunday. You struck out 7 the night before that. They battled, they put the ball in play, and you didn't make the plays behind your pitchers. And that cost Anderson, it cost Ianson, and it cost Shores. Because while none of those plays in the outfield were labeled or ruled errors, they were errors. They were miscues. But because they aren't in the rule book as that, or in the scorebook as that, it reflects poorly against your pitching. Ianson and Anderson absolutely pitched better than their lines. The free passes are hard for me to get around on Shores. I didn't think he had his best stuff today, and that's disappointing because he was coming off 2 really good outings. Your bullpen was awesome, and we'll get to that. But ultimately, you succumb to a team who makes you earn everything, who's really good at home and who's really good in close games. 2-run game Saturday night, they beat you. 1-run game Sunday, they beat you. That was Auburn's 7th win in a run game. And now they have 12 wins over ranked opponents. It's a good team. So is LSU. They weren't good enough this weekend. And it all stems from outfield defense and a really, really tough performance at the plate. Gauntlet Light Installers, GauntletLights.com. They bring you Musso at the box every single day. They also bring you the best lighting options for your home or business on the market. Permanent outdoor landscape lighting. You want to illuminate your space? You call Derek over at Gauntlet. You go to GauntletLights.com, you get a quote, and you work with Derek and his team. Permanent outdoor landscape lighting. Flower beds, backyard patio, pool area, outdoor kitchen, whatever space you want to illuminate, Gauntlet Lights can do it for you. You hosting a private event, wedding reception, y'all, graduations. It is April the 13th. It is April 13th when I'm recording this show. Graduations are less than 2 months away, probably less than a month and a half away. You having a party for your grad? You need some outdoor lighting, temporary? Gauntlet Lights is the one-stop shop. Gauntlet Light Installers, GauntletLights.com. Tell them you heard it right here on Musso at the box. Okay, now let's talk about the good. And the good is LSU's bullpen. And I thought Kane Anderson pitched well in his start. Thought he pitched far better than his line indicates. And I'll say the same thing for Anthony Irons. They weren't helped out enough by their offense or the gloves behind them. But LSU's bullpen is the star of this weekend. And LSU's bullpen is a sign of encouragement for this team. Because when you look at what LSU has down the back half of this SEC slate, and we kind of touched on it at the beginning of the episode, Bama's going to come in, then you have Tennessee, you go on the road to Texas A&M, who's hitting the ball a lot better, and then Arkansas comes in. And the one thing those 4 teams have in common is potent offenses. So to see LSU's bullpen have the weekend they had against a very potent offense in Auburn is encouraging. LSU's bullpen, and here are the arms that you saw. You saw Williams, Cooper Williams, Maverick Rizzi, Jacob Myers, Connor Ware, Connor Binge, DJ Primo, and then Zach Cowan and Evans. Is that 9? Is that 9? Williams, Rizzi, Myers, Ware, Binge, Primo, Cowan, Evans. That's 8. You saw 8 bullpen arms. They threw 12 2/3 innings, gave up 2 runs, but only one of them was earned. The big number, 3 walks, 9 punch-outs. Yo. That's your silver lining. You know, you saw your starters start to turn a corner against Oklahoma. You saw your bullpen start, keyword start. We're not crowning them right now, but start to turn a corner against Auburn. All of that happening at the half point of SEC play is encouraging, especially given the offenses you have to face coming up. If your bullpen is in fact turning the corner, like you've now seen what it can look like, and in some tight spots and against a really good lineup, that would be my, oh my God, Musso, how are they going to do this now with the team? The schedule is harder. That would be my how. Is hopefully what you saw from the bullpen this week is the start of something bigger, the start of a bigger trend, because that's what it can look like from those arms. You know what you're going to get from Cowan and Evans. To see those other guys, Ware, Binge especially, come through when they did in a tight ball game and keep you in it, massive. DJ Primo too. It's a veteran arm you'd love to have. Love what I saw from Jacob Myers. Now, I need to see all of it from those guys more consistently. Can they follow that up this weekend against Alabama, who's a really good offensive ball club? Justin LeBron ain't no joke. Will Hodo, really good. They got a few more in there too that we'll get much deeper into. But that's impressive. And that's my how. How do they, have success in the later schedule where it's supposed to toughen up? Bullpen. Your pitching staff. Hopefully really taking the next step. And this is right around the time a year ago when this started to happen for LSU. We'll see if it follows suit. Offensively, what are we to make of it? I'm not jumping ship yet. I'm not even close to jumping ship yet. Let's see them this week. You'll get to go back home. You face a really good McNeese State team, like a really good McNeese State team in the midweek, so that'll be a nice test. I have great faith in Jay Johnson as an offensive coach, that they will get this right and that they will fix this. It is one bad week. The other only time you saw LSU's offense struggle to this degree this season was against Omaha. And that lasted 10 innings, and boy, they turned it around quick and then won 17 games in a row. Now you've hit your skid in SEC play. I have faith that they can turn it around. LSU's offense has proven this season to be really good. They have to get back to that. I don't think this is, oh my God, it's not translating. Danny Dickinson's been awesome in the SEC. Luis Hernandez has been awesome in the SEC. Jared Jones is a veteran bat in this league. Michael Braswell is a veteran bat in this league. I trust Stephen Milam. Derek Curiel's been awesome in the SEC. Whether that's against Texas, who's pretty damn good and is going to be the number one team in the country come Monday morning, and they should have already been that after they swept Georgia, but whatever. You scored plenty in that series against a good staff. Oklahoma just took 2 out of 3 from a good Vanderbilt team. You scored plenty there. You scored plenty against State. You scored plenty, against Missouri. So I understand those two teams aren't great. Texas and Oklahoma, pretty good. And your offense was nice. It was really good, as a matter of fact. I'm going to lean more on that sample size right now. I had somebody ask in the YouTube chat Saturday night, Musso, they can't start hot and fall flat on their face? Sure, they can. But I think this team's better than that. I really do. And getting swept sucks and is inexcusable. I think this LSU team is too good for that to have happened. And it did. But when you look at them, they are 10-5 in the league. You are still right on pace for 20-10. Road's going to get harder ahead. No doubt. But at the halfway point, you're right where you want to be. Doesn't feel like it right now, but you are. You have a very winnable series coming up at home against Alabama, and then you'll go fight Tennessee tooth and nail. But you get it at home, and that's big. A&M, that remains to be seen. Let's see what they have. They went on the road, took 2 out of 3 from Tennessee. They swept South Carolina, but it wasn't really an impressive sweep. They needed a walk-off grand slam, and they gave up 12 runs in that game. They also had an extra inning win on Friday night. But first and foremost, starting Tuesday, LSU has got to be back to their old self at the plate. And then if they are, and you get performances like you got out of your pitching staff this weekend at Auburn, you're cooking with gas again against anybody. So the blueprint is still there for them. And you built up a lot of goodwill with your 3 sweeps. You gave some of that back this weekend. And that sucks. And that's also unacceptable. You're too good to do that. But remember where they were a year ago at this point. They were 3-12. And that team ended up a game away, an inning away from playing home super regional baseball. And if you would have gotten that, you would have been at Omaha. You didn't make the plays in that last game against North Carolina, and you lost because you were a very flawed team. This team has significantly less flaws, and they're 10-5 at the halfway point, which is tracking for exactly what you want. 20-10, 19-11. That gets you a top 8, and that gets you playing baseball at home all the way until you hopefully make it to Omaha. There's a bad taste in the mouth right now. Not going to deny that. No one's feeling that more than that team and that coaching staff. Let's see how they respond. It starts against a really good McNeese State team on Tuesday night, a McNeese State team that is off to the best start in school history. And they're coming in here upset-minded. So let's see how LSU responds. That's going to wrap it up. Y'all smash the like button, get subscribed if you have not already. Please, podcast and YouTube. And be here next time for more on Musso at the Box, presented by Got Lit Light Installers.